This actually leads into my point also. We'll segue it because it's actually perfect, which is because for good, this is just a slam dunk. Wonderful to NaVi. Like, that's literally one of those moves. This is also why the Lakers, you are so unimpressive to anyone who knows this scene. I don't even need to ever know those people were talking. When you tell me, so NaVi, a team that at the moment incredibly flexes being Ukrainian and doesn't sign Russian players, they're going to temporarily lose their best player, who's Czech's primary AWPer. If only there was someone Ukrainian who's a primary AWPer who's really good on the fucking hell. Like, it writes itself. You don't even need to know anything's going. The joke is, if NaVi didn't do this move, like, it's NaVi that doesn't know CS, not the fucking Lakers. Like, it's just such a slam dunk move all across the board. Like, even the whole angle, which is the only one you can really bring to knock it, which is, well, it isn't simple. It's like, no one is. No one is. Like, even if we just got my boy Dexter was just talking about, who obviously for his nationality reasons, maybe they wouldn't sign. I don't even know if that's certain, by the way, because technically they did sign 2 Russian players to the Valorant team after the war had begun. So I will just say that. Now, I will say, I noticed they also do that thing where they remove the flag on Wikipedia and Valorant or whatever. So maybe it's a requirement, but I don't think it's actually impossible they had a Russian player. It's just they haven't done it yet in CS in a conspicuous manner. But yeah, to me, it's just an obvious signing. Like, I actually think this is almost not only the best signing you could do, it's also actually a banger, even for the potentially bullshit sort of like alibi. So, you know, they're setting this up as like wonderful joins, but at the same time, Simple hasn't left and he might just be on a break and maybe he comes back. Or like Richard said, maybe he swaps to Valorant and plays for NaVi and Valorant or something, right? If they want to leave the door open for him to come back, I think this is also a great move still, because the point is, I mean, he even implied it himself. If his only actual problem is the fucking AWP, just be the rifle and have w0nderful be the AWPer then. Like, as long as he's really good, you actually just have an amazing team, surely. Like, if Simples is going to be a really good rifler, which I presume he would be off his skill in CSGO, and w0nderful can actually, by the way, if people don't know as well, I'd say his tracking's comparable to Monacy. He just wasn't on a G2. Like, he's super fast how quickly he adapted to LAN and got better and better and better and better. If people don't know, he was the replacement for Dexter and basically immediately was just good. Like, he was just good, like, right out the gate. So, to me, I think it's just such an obvious slam dunk move to go for. And if he can actually get to essentially where Monacy is at the big events, and then you have Simple as well, you've already got your 1-2 punch right there. You've already got Alexi BCI. Like, this, as mad as the mess that NaVi's in now is, this one move can actually fix the whole thing. And then there's also the world where maybe Simple doesn't come back, right? Look, you can't replace a player like that. But I'll tell you what, this is about the closest to, like, at least start functionally with the team. After that, you're looking for what? A really good rifler. There's plenty of really good riflers. I actually think it's just a banger move all around. It's one of the rare times where I have no complaint. I think it's the right move for w0nderful, for NaVi, for the Simple angle, for the team. And I actually think this, also another thing is, I think if this works out well and they don't have to like replace him as an AWPer and Simple kicks him out the team, this is another player, by the way, who could be in NaVi for like 5 years and end up being like an all-time great player. I think he has that potential.
One thing with this Simple dipping out of the team thing and how he said, oh, maybe the op doesn't feel good and it, you know, I might just rifle. The update that they just did made the op feel a lot better, actually, because I kind of had the same feeling of it, where it was that if you flick to somebody really fast with the op, like it sometimes wouldn't actually connect with where you flicked your crosshair to. And someone did a nice example on Reddit where they like slowed down the time scaling, and that it's like before they had this update, if you shot and flicked and let go, it would actually not really, it would go kind of like where your crosshair was as opposed to where it was landing, and now it's actually going where you landed. So like the flicky oppers are now like, they should be getting better again at CS2. So that's one thing. So I think Simple actually could easily be coming back, and I kind of get his whole like idea of taking a break, and like for example, like for the Richard statement where he said he might just switch to Valorant, I think Simple was pretty serious about the, like, he doesn't want to play the game for the first few months and just let the game fix itself. Because if you kind of like change your mechanics to feel more what CS2 did at the very beginning in the beta, you might actually develop habits that are, sure, they're good for the first month or two of the game, but they actually don't end up being good. And because the game is slowly trying to become CSGO again, like they're just trying to make sure that the new engine and everything makes it feel like that as much as possible, with the added benefits of being able to change it in different directions a little bit easier for Valve. Beyond that, w0nderful is such a good move for this team, because the way I see w0nderful is like, he's like a souped up Montu, and Alexi B already made Montu look very serviceable for OG, you know, peaking at top 5 in the world in the online era. But w0nderful is a system opper that just hits such a higher rate of his shots. If you put him in hard tough situations, he's just going to deliver more than Montu did. And with the fact that Alexi B, if he's able to tell an Opper a little bit of what to do, give suggestions here and there, that Opper is going to listen to him. It seems like by the system, they actually have to listen to him based off of how Monacy changed before and after Lexi B. But then that's just what w0nderful was doing. When he was playing for Spirit, he was playing well within the system that Chopper created. He was much less brash than Dexter. He was going for less opening picks, but he actually ended up with a better rating at big events than Dexter. So this is like the perfect tool for Alexi B to unlock further. And I do think that if Simple comes back and he just takes the place of Ema, because if we're looking at this roster, just hard and true, like, Ema's been the weakest link here, and if you just get Simple back, who can play rifle or just hybrid, man, this team is actually very strong all of a sudden.
Simple is just so lucky. He's gifted with so many skills. You think about the fact where it's like, I'm a tier 1 opper. I don't want to op anymore. I'm just gonna go become a tier 1 rifler, and it's like, no player should be this good where he's like, top 5 team in the world, guys, I don't want to op anymore. Can you cut your second best rifler for me so I can be like the best rifler on your team? It's not fair. It's so unfair. No one should be this good at everything except for, personality. Anyways, so w0nderful. It's such a good move on paper too, because one understated element of this is now that NaVi's international. w0nderful's been playing on English-speaking teams for a year and a half now, so there's gonna be no startup time for him. He's gonna be the best match for it. It's a good match for team culture too. He does still speak Ukrainian or Russian, so he can still sort of be a friend or a colleague to Bit and Blade, and sort of keep the culture balance on the team going well. And like you said, he's much more of like a systems operator. It's someone who Alexi B should really be able to excel with the exception of Monazy and briefly Simple before he benched himself. I feel like Alexi B's really worked with like non-superstar oppers, so it should just be a natural fit for him on all fronts. So this move is like, I think it's not getting the attention it deserves because he's coming from a team like Sprout, so people are kind of thinking like, oh, he's just a fill-in player, he's just a stand until Simple can come back. But ultimately, he does have the potential to be a great fit for this team and potentially, be someone who could not replace Simple, but on any other team, it's like a winning opper.
I mean, the mad thing is, this is where this guy, no one watches Sprout or Tier 2 play, basically, or when Sprout was just in the CIS region. Because like the joke is, if I was all those fans of Cloud9, I would have been like, why aren't we getting this guy instead of She-Roll? Like, this would be a slam dunk for us too. Like, bring this guy in and we're immediately cooking with gas again. We could do something. Also, as an aside, actually, one point you bring up there, M&Ms, I hadn't even thought of is, also, to be fair, bearing in mind it's an international team now, having your new young recruit be someone who speaks Russian is going to be fucking great with Blade. Like, Blade can speak English, but he'd obviously rather speak his native language. Like, it's going to be way easier for him to explain some super complicated concept to the player. And if you think about it, with the team he's got now, like, Bit's actually in good form again. He's actually sort of turned his shit around. It's merely just this guy. If he gets w0nderful bedded in, they're just good immediately. Like, I actually think that's how this move slept on. Because I actually thought the biggest bomber about Simple taking the break is like, they just had that mad run at the end of CSGO where they made the final Pro League and everyone's like, hey, maybe this team can be good. But then it's like, we got fucking blue balls. Whereas now it's like, back on it. w0nderful's good. Well, let's see again. Let's see what this lineup can actually do. Right, let's switch up then. So, Jeff, what is your bad point?
So bad point for me. Actually, sorry, I gotta say one thing about the Simple Valorant thing. I trust Richard to be right, but I also feel like a player saying I'm going to Valorant is like a kid saying they're going to run away from home. Especially considering the fact that the main complaint CS:GO players have about CS2 is it feels too much like Valorant. So you hate Valorant Lite, so you're going to dark chocolate Valorant, with nuts, and you're gonna have to learn how to, do all this, smokes and the, ultimate that drags you. You can't move and you get pulled into a room and you die, or the 1v1 arena or whatever. I think he's just saying that because he's pissed off about CS2. Like, I don't actually believe he would enjoy Valorant at all. Everything we know about him, considering he's much more of a mechanics player than like a abilities player. I just feel like abilities would drive him nuts because a player is less mechanically skilled than him is going to win off of some, flashbanging him 4 times and pulling him into the 1v1 dungeon of death or whatever. Like, there's no way that he would be happy there. It's almost like, it's almost a complaint. Like, maybe he'll stand in for like 2 months and then be like, okay, CS2 is good enough. NaVi, please put me back in my home. But like, it's not, he's going to come down from his room eventually and, unpack his bags, surely.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.